And after the customary pre-match handshake, it's Ronnie O'Sullivan to get us underway in frame 1. 9 in this session. Usual interval after 4.
Yes, and the trademark left-handed break from O'Sullivan. For a reason only he knows, I suppose. Robertson has looked good in his matches this week. You know, he finished last season well. Going into the World Championships, he was playing good snooker. During the World Championships, he was playing the first week or two, by far and away the best player on show. And he ran into John Higgins, the sublime match player. Took a break, understandably, after his most successful season, and I think he's come back looking okay. But this is his biggest test, and there's an argument it's also O'Sullivan's biggest test for a while. I'd like to call this match. No, that's a very good pot from O'Sullivan. Fortunately for him, the pink to the middle is clearly blocked by the red. Yes, it is genuinely a test for both players. I mean, I don't know where O'Sullivan's game is at right now. It's hard to gauge on the two matches so far. He's a bit lucky in the end to beat Kyren Wilson, who really should have won that match. He beat a wild card before, 6-0. So, a best of 19 against someone who's clearly, you know, a world-class player, who he did get the better of a couple of times last year. We'll find out if Ronnie O'Sullivan is back to that sort of form, won't we, this afternoon and this evening.
Yes, he seemed down and out, didn't he, in his match against Kyren Wilson. 4 down with 5 to play, and Wilson, as you say, had many opportunities to close that match out. He couldn't take them. O'Sullivan himself described it as a weird match. Of course, he was delighted to come through. But you suspect that he will have to raise his game to get the better of Robertson, who's had a pretty serene passage in contrast. Fairly comfortable wins over both Ding Junhui and Barry Hawkins to get this far.
Well, this red goes, but it's not easy. That was a better shot than it looks. You saw that from Hawkeye, you know, the player view of the shot. It looked very acute angle to the middle.
We've seen that from O'Sullivan before. I fancy that cup will be filled with hot water. Keep his hands nice and warm. I remember on one occasion O'Sullivan was counting the spots on the back of a spoon when he wasn't at the table playing shots as a way of maintaining concentration.
May have been a match I was commentating on actually at the venue. It was, that might have been York, might have been the UK Championship when he was bored, as sometimes happens when you're out there, whoever you are. Not an easy safety shot this, because you've got the green, the blue and that red to the right of the table that could get in the way. He's such a fine safety player. He's done well to get back there. Just want to say very good morning if you're watching in the UK or in Europe, because some people will have got up to watch a match like this. If you're a real snooker fan, you're probably up bright and early, seeing who wins out of O'Sullivan Robertson. Good morning to you if you're doing that. Of course, you might be watching from Australia because your man Neil Robertson is there. This is the Ashes number 2. Of course, if you're in Australia, you've already won the Ashes back. But this is the kind of match, Philip, that will attract interest anywhere you are in the world. It's the meeting of two top players who will lock horns for place in the final.
It's very much a global game these days. 19 ranking events being contested this season, a further 6 invitational events, of which this is one, the most lucrative now, more than £750,000 at stake. As O'Sullivan pots the red, but again, doesn't get prime position. And all of that snooker being played over 11 different territories, so truly is global interest, particularly when two of the biggest hitters in the game are going head-to-head for a place in a final.
Well, what does he do here? Brown is not available to pot because the red in front of it, just below the pink spot's clearly in the way. I suppose you could cut the black in conceivably. I think it will cut, but you know, it's the kind of risk he's unlikely to want to take at this point. I mean, the table is okay. If a chance was to come, the reds are spread and the colours all out in open play.
Ronnie O'Sullivan 1.
The first final they contested last season, the Tour Championship, was a pretty handsome win for O'Sullivan. Robertson didn't do much wrong, actually, but still lost heavily, 10-4. The Tour Championship final was a different story. That was nip and tuck all the way, really. Robertson had been 6-3 down, levelled at 10-all. And that is a fantastic pot from Robertson from long range. Very much his speciality, particularly in his early days when there were still a few rough edges to the other facets of his game, but his long potting has always been outstanding. Yeah, so Sullivan winning by 13-11 in the end in that Tour Championship final. It was a great match, though.
6. 7.
Yes, the red that he potted at the beginning of this break will certainly give him confidence. He couldn't have cued it any better.
12.
And like I said at the time, there was plenty on. It's only 5 reds or so in open play. I think the one up by the brown is very gettable on for a left-hander as well if he wanted to.
Thirteen.
That'll do him. I'm sure it's exactly how he played it, but it's fine.
19. 20.
Robertson won 3 ranking titles in a single season for the first time in his career. 2018-19 proved to be a very lucrative one. 753,000 and change.
Well, he's always started the season well, hasn't he? That's the thing. Often he's won an early tournament, Robertson, usually Riga, and not always gone on with it. But last year he just kept going. But for O'Sullivan, he'd won a lot more.
33. $34.
So he's taken everything that was out in the open. Well, that's a good angle at least on this red. Of course, it's not easy along there, but at least
40.
he'll be playing it fairly slowly to get out for the black. And that's why it was a good shot, I think. Now the red up the table I was speaking about earlier on. He could land on that top right-hand cushion, somewhere where he's about to queue up. And of course, with the brown there at hand as well, it's easy. It means him pulling the red, he'll have not much to do to regain position. That looks A1 to me.
48.
I think a good start is imperative for Robertson. He's largely been on the wrong end of things against O'Sullivan in the past.
Well, he's looking here at what he needs, and it'll be red, and it'll be, of course, the brown, and one more red, and that'll be the first frame under his belt.
49.
My guess is the right-hand red is the one he'll play on, swinging the cue ball around, trying to just miss the yellow and take it off the left cushion across to the right for that red out on its own. Well, of course, he's a left-hander, so this time it doesn't suit him. So this could be missed, actually.
53.
If he doesn't miss it, then O'Sullivan needs a snooker. First mobile phone of the day. Not the last, I should think. Yeah, it wasn't as easy as the previous. So there's just a glimmer for Ronnie O'Sullivan here. Mathematically, he can win, but the balls are awkward.
$59 still available, 52 the deficit for O'Sullivan.
What a delightful shot. The balls are not as awkward now. The colours never were, but it was just the reds. And he just glanced off a couple. That was cleverly played. Now that was not a good shot. He played to screw that off the cushion, and he knew he'd be on the other one.
8.
Somehow he's got behind it. Well, interesting there. The options are to play safe from the safe red and get that into play and give himself a good chance, but I think this plant is what he's looking at. And if he plays it, it's not easy. This is going to have to be a very good safety shot. Any other option I could think of would be cushion first on the bottom red to pot it. Here's the big shot. That looks pretty good to me.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 8.
I've seen a lot worse than that. What he has done is opened up the table. And now there's nothing safe. Robertson is more than happy to see pink and black away from their spots.
Robertson only needs a red to leave O'Sullivan requiring a snooker. Potted a great one to get in for his initial break. Not quite so accurate this time.
One.
Well, there's another one that has to go in. 43 is the difference now. If he misses this, then he can only tie the frame, but he's got to pop this really. No idea that went in. I know he gave it every chance, but that hit the bottom jaw. That shouldn't have dropped.
8.
Well, that will give him confidence for this shot if the last one can go in along the other cushion.
9.
Struck that one a lot more cleanly.
Yeah, I mean, that black, I'm not one of the people that goes on about the pocket sizes, but how on earth did that go in?
16.
I know it wriggled and just about dropped in, but well, I was always led to believe if you hit one as badly as that, it stays on the table. And those small margins can be crucial, can't they, at this level? Now, if he wins his frame, then there is some great significance to that going in. Anyhow, still got to do it, and the pink will be an obvious problem, really.
It
would be a hurtful frame for Robertson to lose.
22.
He's had a couple of shots at frame ball.
Yeah, I think if the blue was on its spot, blue to pink would be a little easier. He could play the cannon, but from where the blue is, it's quite a hard shot to either get in behind the pink or move it. If anyone can, the man at the table can. Such a creative player. But trust me, this is not an easy shot to play. Just didn't feel right. It felt
34.
like the cannon was very difficult to get, but he's very much in there. And he's played the cross double. Goodness me, where's this cue ball going?
Crowd getting involved early.
Well, the black's even more difficult, I think. This is a horrible shot. And this, if he misses this and gets close to it, it stays over the pocket. Oh, what a clearance, Philip.
What a dramatic start to our second semi-final here in Shanghai. Ronnie O'Sullivan saw Neil Robertson make a break of 53, but a cross double on the final pink and a pressure black disappears. O'Sullivan leads 1-0. As he looks to improve his modest record against Ronnie O'Sullivan. It looked as though he was going to take the opening frame on a break of 53. He missed frame ball red with the rest and then had another opportunity to close it out.
Second frame.
Missing from long range, but what a fine clearance of the colours from O'Sullivan. The cross double on the pink got the crowd off their seats. And then a tough cut back black, which was very missable. Found the pocket, and O'Sullivan steals the opener. 8 more frames in this session. 10 is the target. Sean Murphy awaiting the winner in the final tomorrow after his 10-3 victory yesterday over Mark Allen.
Well, Robertson, of course, aside from the clearance that O'Sullivan made, did miss that red down the right cushion, which was a rest shot. More of a right-hander's shot than a left-hander's shot. But what had happened after that, I don't think he believed that he was going to lose the frame at that point. But that's what happened. Quite incredible clearance. Robertson's got the temperament to come back, though.
Well, he knows he's cueing well. He's got a lot of trust in his game at the moment after his most successful season in terms of ranking titles last time out. And very much picking up where he left off last season with the brand of snooker he's been playing here in Shanghai. Dropping just 5 frames in his 2 matches coming into the semi-final. He made 84 centuries last season. One more than Judd Trump. And of course, the only player to date to have achieved a century of centuries in a single season. Prolific scorer. Unlike Stephen Hendry before him, who gave him some advice a few seasons back about the art of break building. He loves making centuries.
Well, the pink won't go on there very easily. Must look very tight. If it touches the red, or when respotted is finishing touching the red, of course, then you'll have to go somewhere else. It's not acceptable. It must just spot. I think we're billing this as a potential classic. I mean, it's early in the season and this is a very big tournament, but these are 2 giants of the modern game
11.
playing in a best of 19. There's a lot to like about this matchup, I think.
Nice cannon. Robertson seeking his first victory over O'Sullivan since he beat him in the Invitational Hong Kong Masters final a couple of years ago. That was also in front of a big crowd. Yeah, he's actually shaved the red close to the cushion there, which is why he was apologising, because there was an element of fortune in that pot.
I must admit, when I first saw it, I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but it did definitely hit the other red on the way through. Yeah, that is a very good shot there he's played. It's one of those shots that could
24.
go unnoticed, but the full ball contact on the pink, anything half ball, the cue just slides off down near a corner pocket. That was a great shot.
Very important for Robertson to hit back immediately after the disappointment of the manner in which he lost the opening frame, which he seemed in control of. O'Sullivan has made a habit over the years of getting in front of opponents and then bullying them. Surely the greatest ever front runner. So
32.
for Robertson, it's all about staying with O'Sullivan, keeping the pressure on him. Quite unusual, wasn't it, to see O'Sullivan coming from a long way behind to win in the quarterfinals. It's not a position he often finds himself in, but he got the job done by hook or by crook.
Yeah, Robertson, I've noticed, has been playing a lot quicker in the last year or 2.
38.
I think occasionally he's got himself a little bit bogged down by looking at too many things. And if you look hard enough for things to go wrong, you'll certainly find them.
39.
But he's quite fluent in amongst them these days. He kind of races around the table. Never rushes shots, but he just looks like he's got more rhythm now.
Yeah, I think that was a conscious decision. I think Robertson has talked about how, watching some of his matches back, he realised that he had slowed down, perhaps without even noticing that it had crept into his game, being a little more pedestrian and overthinking.
Yeah, you can do that without knowing it. You can be slower than you think you are, because you get so wrapped up in shots. But like I say, it's better to be just positive and a little quicker
46.
where possible. Sometimes easier to say than to do. Anyway, he's well on his way here. Doesn't want any repeat of the previous frame. Needs to make sure he gets over the line. Because he's played a lot of snooker already in this match and yet to win a frame. First frame was very unfortunate, I suppose you would say, to lose it.
53.
Fell foul of what ended up a great clearance.
$59. $60.
Well, they need this pink and one more red, and that will be 1-all. Then it's a question of how many he makes.
$66.
A really good response from Robertson to the disappointment of losing the opener. He has a couple of centuries this week in Shanghai.
73. 74.
And he really is flying around the table. He's got that old
80.
strut, that old swagger back again.
$81. Sorry. 87.
You can see Robertson very keen to complete the century.
88.
Became only the fourth player ever to make 600 or more. Still got some way to catch up. O'Sullivan, of course, has made 1,013. But he is
95.
6 years O'Sullivan's junior at 37.
96.
Well, this has been a terrific break. Very well constructed. A couple of nice little delicate cannons early on to get everything in open play. And the century is complete.
102.
O'Sullivan having to sit this one out. Not enough there for Robertson to post a new highest break of the tournament. That's held by Barry Hawkins, whom he beat in the previous round, 142. £6,000 available for the best break of the tournament.
107.
That's a brilliant response from Neil Robertson to losing the opening frame on the black after being 50-odd in front. He hits straight back with a century. And what a start to this Shanghai Masters semi-final. It's one frame each. By that disappointment, hitting straight back with a century. So battle well and truly joined. O'Sullivan to break in frame 3.
I think one thing we know is that these two are going to score heavily. So these little safety exchanges actually become more significant. Can't afford any errors. And that looks pretty watertight, that last shot. Even Ronnie acknowledges that he's played it well. And the problem here is not really the pot, it's just a question of controlling the cue ball. The natural angle for Robertson is to pot it and go into cluster reds, but of course it's not really what he wants to do. It's a hard shot to drag in and play slowly. That's what he's trying here. He's played that particularly well. It's an excellent shot. It was not as easy as he made it look. Be away again here. If he wants to make a big break, then O'Sullivan can take some comfort in the fact that he won the first frame in the way that he did, because really right now Robertson is playing all the snooker and it's still only 1-1.
And it was that great initial safety from Robertson which set up this chance.
16.
Making life awkward for O'Sullivan, leaving him with that red.
Yes, Philip, and sometimes that is overlooked in this game. You see a break start, but you don't realise that the shot before very often is the reason it ever does start. It put Ronnie O'Sullivan in trouble, as you rightly say.
$24. $25.
Well, you can see where he's looking at there. He wants to be fairly low on that red to the left corner, same pocket as the black. Chose to play on the other red instead. Gone a bit too far. He's on it, but
36.
again, the cue ball heading somewhere in the bunch. I think he's just going to pot it and hope to get out of there. I'm not sure what he was expecting to happen. It looked like it could only finish in amongst them. At that speed, I thought at least he was going to hit it harder and try and plough the cue ball through the pack. In the end, he kind of did nothing. So once again, the importance of the safety shot there is pretty obvious with the reds open.
Robertson, 33.
Well, it could have been worse for O'Sullivan there. It could have been that he was up against more than 33.
We've talked about Neil Robertson's season last time out. It wasn't exactly shabby for O'Sullivan either. Just missing the thin edge on the red, so that'll be going back. Aside from this title, he won 4 others. Champion of Champions and 3 ranking titles, including a record-breaking 7th UK title, beating Mark Allen in the final. But then, of course, came the seismic shock at the Crucible, perhaps the biggest ever, losing to the then amateur James Cahill in the first round as Robertson watches on.
Yes, I mean, a lot was made of James Cahill's amateur status, and rightly so, because it is a fact. He is an amateur, or he was then. But he was a good player, and he had been a pro previously. He'd beaten the likes of Ding Junhui and Mark Selby in the UK Championship, but he was an amateur, although he isn't one now because he achieved enough over the course of last season to get his status back. Interjection from Neil Robertson. Of course, he's allowed to have a say in the replacement of the balls, and the referee will ask if both players are happy. This is no fun, this shot. If he's trying to hit this thin, it's horrible. And it's precisely for that reason. You either miss it altogether, or if you catch it too thick, you rattle the cue ball. And at the moment, Robertson is winning all the battles, scoring and safety. It's very poor for someone of Robertson's standard. The kind of shot these players practice all the time, in and out of bulk without going into a bulk colour. That's not a good shot. Could have played it with the other side, actually, left-hand running side. So once you get through the gap between the brown and the yellow, there isn't any way you're going to hit anything on the way back up, because the cue ball goes through over on the left-hand side. So he has been in twice in this frame, and he hasn't won it. I think at the level we're seeing, 43 points with a number of reds left is really not much of a lead.
Robertson 6.
was a good safety from O'Sullivan, and Robertson a little fortunate with that full ball kiss on the yellow to cover the mid-range red. But this frame's still very much up for grabs, even though Robertson's 43 in front. The red's nicely spread now. You can see O'Sullivan cross with himself at hitting the brown to give Robertson a chance to get his hand on the table and go for this red, which could be a frame winner. Oh, he's missed that by a long way.
Yes, did not threaten the pocket. I don't know whether he's left an easy starter. The red that he missed has come across somewhere near the right middle, but I'm not sure it cuts in. It's too thin for that, perhaps, playing it down into the bottom right. Kind of shot that you're more likely to get if you're in rhythm. That red, it was a cueing shot. Saw O'Sullivan miss a red like that, but up into the green pocket against Karen Wilson and punched the table in absolute rage. And, as they got quite close to the end of that match. And all of a sudden, Robertson's got the wobbles.
Well, at first sight, it looks as though Robertson's perhaps got lucky there. Has he covered the potting angle on this red? Maybe not. Feels as though Robertson has been the stronger player, but he could yet find himself 2-1 behind, nonetheless. A series of errors from Robertson in this frame after the initial 30-odd break.
Yeah, he's had some luck though again, hasn't he? That's twice now. He's made errors which he's got away with, I think, almost completely. Ronnie is desperately trying to get this opportunity, but he's in behind the yellow again here. Got no reward for the previously good safety shot. So it seems to be a pretty important exchange this now. At the moment, Robertson's errors are not accounting for anything. But his last couple of safety shots were a lot better. Ronnie could probably pop that red along the cushion that he's closest to, but there's absolutely no way he can get on a colour. So again, he's playing a very patient waiting game here, O'Sullivan. Robertson's playing a lot of shots from where he's going to play that next one in that top left corner. Just holding O'Sullivan off right now. Pretty sure he played it cushion first because he was using left-hand side. I noticed they're like running side. And a half chance. It was very well played. I think the snooker in behind the green is favourite here. Well, Ronnie has got him rattled in his most recent exchange. Robertson had missed a couple before that, but he has a 42-point lead. Whether that's going to mean a great deal after this shot, I don't know. This is not an easy snooker to hit and keep safe. Hitting it's not the problem, it's the other bit that is. First thing you look for is a red nearer cushion that you can just lay up to. There isn't anything like that here. This could be an argument for the Stephen Maguire. Hit the balls as hard as you can and hope to fluke one here. Sometimes all the planning in the world can lead to nothing. That's exactly what he's done. He hasn't got lucky.
O'Sullivan's won the safety battle this time, all right. Chance for a counter-attack, just 42 behind, bags of reds left.
One.
Good shot to get the pink back on its spot. High scoring ball and at the right end of the table for O'Sullivan.
Seven. Eight.
Very unusual to see O'Sullivan make a positional error like that.
Yeah, he's lucky to be on the red in the middle though, but you're right, it was a mistake.
$14. $20. $21.
Well, he's overrun that a little bit. That'll annoy him. I mean, he's able to play left-handed, but I don't even think left-handed he can reach the black. Have to get the rest out or something, and now it becomes a missable shot. The line of the shot, the blue's in the way. Very well played. The thing about Ronnie O'Sullivan is that because he can play left-handed on shots, you don't see him use the wrist much, but when he does, I think he's as good as anybody.
48.
Speak about Sean Murphy and Karen Wilson, great wrist players. O'Sullivan can play with the rest all right.
29.
A great deal on the snooker table that he can't do, actually.
He's made a nonsense of the notion that when you get to your late 30s, your game starts to tail off. If anything, O'Sullivan has got stronger since he's turned 40.
3 blacks with these last 3 reds, and yellow and green means he doesn't need the brown. Lower value colours, he does. Wonder if he's going to pick up on that here.
44.
I think much he can do, I suppose. So, like I say, brown will certainly come into play. O'Sullivan needs it to win. Cuball's just drifted awkwardly once again here. I think he'll have to play the pink, really. I mean, yellow is more of a queuing shot. Yellow with yellow again. Either way, he needs a few more pots after he knocks this next one in.
Wow. That is some fluke. The crowd are smiling. That man isn't. Could that be a frame winner?
53.
It's the yellow by quite a distance. Flew into the centre pocket.
55.
So he needs green and brown.
He actually has a shot to cannon the brown out here. I'm not sure whether he'll take that option up or not. Playing it left-handed as well. Yeah, if he needed the blue, he might have thought about it, but this is the one he needs. He can give it his full attention. I expect him to play it fairly slowly.
Well, the fluke was crucial on the yellow. And Neil Robertson, who's played some very good snooker at the start of this match, may well be scratching his head shortly, thinking to himself, how am I behind?
Well, the answer is O'Sullivan, barring snookers, has stolen 2 of the 3 frames with impressive clearances, it has to be said. But in both of them, Robertson was in command.
One snooker needed then. Oh, we have done without the kiss on the jaw. That just about sets the seal on a very frustrating frame for Neil Robertson, who led early and did have chances, but in the end a fluke helps Ronnie O'Sullivan to a 2-1 lead here in Shanghai. Somewhat frustrating opening to the Shanghai Masters semi-final for Neil Robertson, who's made a half-century and a century break, and yet finds himself 2-1 adrift of Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's stolen 2 frames. The first on the final black, the second helped by a big fluke on the yellow to move 2-1 in front. So one more frame before our first interval. 10, of course, is the target today for a place in the final and a meeting with Sean Murphy. It's their 24th meeting, and O'Sullivan has won 16 of the previous 23. quite got his long game in order yet.
He played it quite well there because cue ball naturally would end up in bulk there, but he managed to get it out of bulk by playing it a bit more firmly. Now he's on a bulk colour.
Three. Four.
Well, it's not the best shot I've ever seen him play because he's really hampered on this red, playing the pink.
Ten. Eleven.
Yes, well, he didn't have to play the shot he did there. He could have played on a loose red, but now he has gone into them. That's very well done. He got a lot on that cue ball that really did fizz into the bunch of reds twice almost.
19.
Now he's got to put behind him what's happened in a couple of the frames here where he hasn't quite made enough. Sullivan has stolen them. Frame in between that, of course, Robertson made a century. They're the kind of thoughts he has to have in his mind here. The positive ones, not the negative ones.
26.
Well, that wasn't one of his best, finishing low on the blue rather than the top side.
Thirty-two. 33.
It's very nicely done. Getting the bunch open certainly has helped him, although the reds are a little bit in each other's way. I mean, they all can be got on, but as I say, they're covering each other to many of the pockets. A little bit of thought has to go into this. I think the two reds up the table both go, and that's very nicely done. That's a beautiful shot.
40.
Looks to me like that's been judged to perfection.
41.
Robertson is showing an impressive mentality here. There's been plenty for him to be frustrated about in this mini session, where he's played most of the snooker. Sullivan's fluke proved pivotal in the previous frame.
48.
Robertson has made a century and a half century, but only has the one frame to show for it. But he's just getting on with the job. He knows he's in good form. He knows he's scoring very heavily. And he's looking good to share the spoils at the first break.
Yeah, he's got this far with this break though, Philip, hasn't he? And he's got to make sure he does convert it now to avoid anything happening like has happened already. History repeating itself. And there you see, all of a sudden the break appears to be over. With the frame, not one. The top red does go, but it's mighty difficult. It's the only way you can keep the break alive. Tough this. Very awkward angle. Cue might just slide into the red to the right of it unless he plays it with screw. This could possibly go wrong. Honestly, that really is a good shot. Very delicately played. Not only the pop, but where the cue ball finished.
This black, a red and another colour should suffice for Robertson.
Well, that wasn't one of his best shots. The cue ball did not have to go that far across the table. All of a sudden, and once again, there's just a bit on this one. The last 3 or 4 shots have had to be thought through. Can't fault it. It's very good again. I think we are in for some match here between these two. Quick glance at the scores. He knows that this is the one he needs to win the frame. Whether he goes on to make a century at this stage is secondary in his thoughts.
I think O'Sullivan will be the happier of the two that it's 2 each, even though he went in front. Robertson has arguably played better, and he'll feel that parity is the least he deserves, but he's cueing very well once again. We know what O'Sullivan is capable of. This is one of his favourite tournaments, 3 times a winner, defending champion, going for 3 in a row. So it's all set up quite beautifully for what should be a memorable day snooker.
81.
Coming up during the interval, by the way, we'll remind you of how Sean Murphy overcame Mark Allen in yesterday's semi-final. We'll hear from Murphy as well. He's actually been talking about the difference between his form last season, when he suffered a total of 9 first-round exits, to the form he's shown this season, already 2 major finals. And Murphy says, to be honest, I can't really explain it myself. My game hasn't really changed, but it's all about those 6 inches between the ears. Well, there's nothing wrong with Robertson's mental attitude here.
95.
What a break this has been. What a response to losing the previous frame as he did. Another century. Fabulous stuff from the Aussie.
101. Robertson, 101.
With Ronnie O'Sullivan, whose highest break so far was a 62. And that included a fluke on the yellow to lead 2-1, but it's 2 each. We just saw how Sean Murphy beat Mark Allen in the first semi. Let's hear what he had to say afterwards.
Thank you. Frame 5. Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
Well, we will hear from Sean Murphy in due course, but in the meantime, here's Ronnie O'Sullivan breaking off in frame 5. Took the first frame of the day on the final black after an audacious double on the pink. But it's Robertson who's done most of the scoring, Neil.
It's a strange 4 frames. This is what snooker can do. You get one man doing all the groundwork. O'Sullivan has mopped up a couple of frames to win them. Mistake there from Robertson, but the first frame, obviously, Ronnie made the most outrageous clearance, actually. Played the cross double on the pink and rolled the black in. And then the century from Robertson in frame 2, followed by, in frame 3, the fluke that he got, O'Sullivan. Fluke the yellow and cleared. And then another big break from Robertson. So you normally find it's the other way around. In matches involving O'Sullivan, he scores big, expansive, big scores, big breaks. And occasionally his opponents are there to pick up the pieces, but the first 4 frames have been roles reversed. I mean, you always look at O'Sullivan in a new season and say, you know, is he still the same player as we've absolutely loved watching all this time? At the moment,
7.
he looks okay to me. He's missed a few at long range, and that's always the first thing that you struggle with when you're not completely at the top of your game.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with O'Sullivan scoring this week. He has made 4 centuries, as has Robertson now, with the 2 that he's compiled in this session. Very contrasting matches for O'Sullivan. It was a breeze against Zhang Yi, the Chinese wildcard.
14.
He whitewashed the youngster in barely an hour, but then, of course, had to come from 5-1 behind to beat Kyron Wilson.
Kyron Wilson will be very disappointed to have lost that match. And Ronnie should know, really, that he's almost had a
90.
lifeline, and he can feed off that, because he should never be in this round. He was dead and buried at 5-1, and
20.
Kyron Wilson had opportunities after that as well. But that is snooker. Getting over the line can be the most difficult thing. It wasn't a particularly good shot from O'Sullivan. He's on a red, but he didn't mean to go into the pack thin like that. He meant to hit more of them. So he's lucky to have any shot at a red.
$26.
Ten titles for O'Sullivan in the last 2 seasons.
31.
It's some strike rate,
32.
isn't it, for a guy who's going to turn 44 in December.
Yeah, I think he's done it, Philip, by being mindful that he can't play every week. Playing all these overseas events. He likes playing here in Shanghai, but he doesn't play in many of the Chinese tournaments. And he tries to play in what he thinks will benefit him.
36.
Doesn't want to be part of the treadmill, playing all the tournaments all around the world every week. It makes a player jaded.
37.
So he's kept himself fresh and keen. I notice he's in the draw for the World Open in Yushan at the end of next month. I'm surprised to see him in that draw, because it's not a tournament he's played in particularly very often, I don't think. The in-off was on there. Funny one, isn't it? You know, either it's on or it's not.
Neil Robertson 5.
I mean, usually you know on that blue when you're on the cushion where you're going to go in off, and that was seemingly bang on.
Ronnie O'Sullivan's break ends with the in-off. 32 between them. 5 more frames to come in this first session. So someone's got to have a lead. Question is who and by how much?
One.
No colour available to pot.
Neil Robertson 1.
Shouldn't present a huge problem for O'Sullivan, this. Cue ball into the bottom of the bunch. Quite a wide target, actually. That's okay. If it's touching ball, then Robertson has the advantage.
Yeah, touching ball.
It is. So he
Touching ball.
should be able to get in behind the green and brown again here. He just clarified that it was touching. Maybe playing in behind the yellow this time.
One.
Same as before. I'm not sure whether he's on the yellow. He wasn't last time, and again, a little touch in behind the bolt colour's all he's got.
Neil Robertson
It's
1.
so difficult at this level to make an advantage out of that, because the likes of O'Sullivan and Robertson himself escaping from snookers are very accurate. But this time there's just less of a target. Laying at the bottom of that little cluster of 5 reds is not straightforward. Nicely done. Bit of a nothing shot there. O'Sullivan, you'd feel, could get back to bolt from this quite comfortably. I'm guessing there's no plant available. Ronnie did check those bottom 2 reds. So it's a question of playing. Good safety shot here. I don't think Neil Robertson had many shots, but that didn't really threaten O'Sullivan. And there was always a chance he was going to play that shot. So Ronnie's won that little duel. Seems to be a small gap between the green and brown, but Robertson not interested in that. Well, this has got to go to reach. Looks like it's... Oh, it's reached. Good shot. I thought that it was going to be a fraction short. It was judged to perfection. Maybe the plant is on from the cue ball where it is now.
One.
It's the same again, really. No way of keeping the break going. So, well, I think about at least the 3rd time he plays the snooker. He's chasing the game a little bit here, Robertson. He's hoping that O'Sullivan will make a mistake from this. He's been holding him off quite well from these snookers. Another terrific shot. He's swerving onto that right-hand cushion. Good little battle, this. You see a low-scoring frame, 37 points to 8 with 5 reds left. You think, well, it's been scrappy, but it actually hasn't been scrappy, this frame. It's been quite tactical. There's been no really easy shots missed or anything. Safety has been top class. And there's another particularly good shot. Well, I mentioned the gap between the green and brown. It looks as if O'Sullivan can just nip the cue ball through there. What a good shot that was.
The crowd are absolutely absorbed in this, and no wonder. We're seeing every facet of the game, aren't we? We've seen a couple of century breaks from Neil Robertson. We've seen some top-class safety. It's a compelling duel between 2 of the world's greatest. And they're both delivering in the early stages.
Well, Neil Robertson has utilised the gap between green and brown, or the fact that those 2 balls are very close together, very nicely. And he's played so many good shots to stop O'Sullivan from having a chance here. I know that Ronnie is 29 points ahead, but it doesn't count for that much if you leave your opponent a chance. And so far, he's managed to avoid that. And he's played it with a touch of left-hand side. He won't be getting the black into play because he'd rather it stayed where it was.
Ronnie O'Sullivan 1.
O'Sullivan's lead 30 with 59 still available to Robertson.
Well, if O'Sullivan wins this frame, it's more like a Mark Selby frame to win, where he keeps his opponent at bay all the way through and just picks up the pieces. Very unlike him to have to play frames like this, let alone win them. But in a match where Robertson has made 2 centuries, I guess Ronnie O'Sullivan has got to pick up the frames wherever he can. And all the closer frames, of course, he's winning. Fascinating match, this.
$16. 17.
O'Sullivan showing that he's not just about the big breaks, he can scrap as well. And there's something about Shanghai that really agrees with O'Sullivan. He's always loved playing here.
25.
Going for a 4th title in this city. He just seems completely at ease when he competes in Shanghai.
30.
And his legion of fans love watching him play. They love watching Robertson too. They really are combining to produce a great spectacle here. With a possible 14 more frames to come.
35. 39. 44. 15.
Well, he's taken these very fluently, but as I say, the tactical battle was one that he eventually won, which proved decisive in this frame.
The second half century of the match from Ronnie O'Sullivan. Neil Robertson has made 2 centuries and a 53, but once again he finds himself behind in this Shanghai Masters semi-final as Ronnie O'Sullivan retakes the lead. But the Shanghai Masters is a real feast for this big crowd. Neil Robertson has made 2 centuries and a half century, but for the 3rd time he finds himself a frame adrift. 3-2. Another 4 to come in this first session. 10 the target for victory.
This is a bit pacey. Sullivan making an error this time in the safety, but still would require a good long pot from Neil Robertson to get the break started. A lot depends on whether the black goes to the left corner. If it does, it really helps. It means he's got to play a long stun shot.
close, but could be costly. Robertson looking anxiously at the damage.
I think he's got away with it. I don't think anything goes. Yeah, there's your evidence. That's a bit unlucky because he played in that corner of the table, but I suppose on another day it stays in the lip of the pocket and Robertson's in trouble. I don't know if he's disappointed there or something. You saw him shaking his head with the shot he played, or the fact that Robertson got a little bit fortunate when he missed. Knocks those in for fun.
So Robertson could end up benefiting from the initial miss, not leaving O'Sullivan in. And then an excellent red after the in-off. Oh, goodness. Miscue. You can't believe it.
Well, that's hurtful.
What's happened? He hasn't lost his tip, has he? Oh, my goodness. Well, he certainly lost a lump out of it by the looks of things.
Well, that means what that very likely means is that the players will have to take a 15-minute recess. Because what that actually means is that he'll need time to replace his tip.
3-2, the players returning to the arena rather quicker than perhaps we might have anticipated, because Neil Robertson's tip basically shattered when he was playing a deep screw shot just now in the early stages of this frame 6, and he threw his head back in despair. He's obviously managed to either repair that tip or have it replaced, but either way, Neil, it's going to be a bit of a concern for Robertson as to how he plays from here on in.
I was wondering that, seeing him come out so quickly makes me think that maybe some very temporary repair job has been done so he could use it for the rest of the session at least. A new tip. I mean, I don't know whether, as we see that foul shot from O'Sullivan, I mean, just saying to you off air that, what does that look like? It didn't look like a new tip to me. Some people don't put their own tips on, some players don't, some will rely on others. And, you know, some people will just quickly replace it themselves, but whether Robertson's somebody that does his own tips or he asks a friend to do it, I'm not entirely sure.
Certainly looked in a pretty poor state of repair when he left the arena. But there was nothing wrong with that pot, so whatever has happened, repair or new tip, that's an encouraging resumption for Robertson.
I have to say, though, it is one of the most annoying things. It's actually quite unnerving when something happens to your tip during a match. It just takes all of your concentration away. Now, he hit that very poorly, and it makes me wonder whether he's got a new tip on there. Anyway, we'll have to just monitor how he plays.
8.
I mean, if you don't understand the importance, perhaps, if you're not, you know, a snooker player yourself, watching from anywhere in the world where you are right now, a new tip can take a good 2 or 3 days to bed in. And it really does change the way a player will think.
$14. 15.
Yeah, the last place you really want to be banging in a new tip is during a major semi-final against Ronnie O'Sullivan, with the session in the balance. But so far, so good for Robertson. Although he wasn't happy with that one.
22.
It really did look a lost cause. There was a big piece of the tip hanging off as Robertson left the arena, so perhaps it is a new one. If it is, it was put on at lightning speed. Well, tough pot this at the best of times. Well played.
Yes, it really was well played, wasn't it? Well, I guess the first opportunity we'll find out whether he's got a new tip or he's done a pretty interesting repair job, because the other one looked like it was a write-off to me. But for now, he's still at the table and still scoring. I was taking the intensity out of the session because I was thinking how good it was, you know, not only the fact that we'd seen a couple of centuries from Robertson, but the tactical exchanges were excellent. Thinking about playing on the yellow here, and that would certainly clear up that end of the table. It would mean that within 2 or 3 shots, the black would be out in open play.
31.
She ends up playing on the black, and not particularly well, I might add.
$38. $39. $45.
He's done very well here, Neil Robertson. Looked in a terrific long red after Ronnie was winning off from his first shot back from the incident where the tip was damaged.
53. $54.
Well, for once, it wasn't well played. If he can get to the green to knock it in, he could be thinking about playing containing safety shot though instead. Oh, that's a good shot, that is. Very good. 75 on the table
57.
though. 6 reds remaining, that is. So he needs red colour here. This is probably the most difficult shot of the lot coming next.
Robertson,
So
57.
the frame is not over.
No, still 75 there. Pretty good contribution from Robertson, given the circumstances, the calamity of seeing his tip almost ruined. But Ronnie O'Sullivan has already won a couple of frames from some way behind, including the first on the black. But he left the red.
One.
And all Robertson now needs is a high-value colour to make sure of the frame.
Yes, of course, O'Sullivan could tie the frame if the break ended here. It seems unlikely that's going to be the case. So, no obvious signs of an issue with
7.
the tip on the cue, which was, as we were saying, damaged. Don't know whether he's got a new one on or what's happened, but since he's
8.
come back out, he's still knocked everything in, hasn't he?
It's the dream scenario, isn't it, for Robertson after what happened? He looked very concerned, understandably so, as he left the arena, but he's picked up where he left off in the first mini-session, couple of centuries. He's scoring very heavily again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the last thing I'll
14.
say about it, because we probably have spoken about it enough, but he'll want to get to the end of the first session, either with what he's got on there or a new one, and then if he does need a new tip, then of course he could probably knock it in for an hour or two or just something. But it's when it happens
21.
mid-match when you've got no time to acclimatise. So what he really needs to do is just get himself to the
22.
end of the session in a position where he can go on and win the match tonight. And at 3-3, I think we've still got everything to play for.
It really is compelling stuff, as it always promises to be when these two go head-to-head. The foul with the yellow disappearing is academic, and that is a great response again from Neil Robertson to falling behind for the third time. Our second semi-final here at the Shanghai Masters started with Ronnie O'Sullivan winning the first frame on the final black. We've seen Neil Robertson knock in a couple of centuries. We've seen Robertson's tip almost come off mid-shot, but he's responded well to that adversity by winning yet another frame to draw level. We're not sure whether the tip is new or repaired. Either way, it worked pretty well for Robertson in that sixth frame. Didn't legislate for the red coming back up the table as it has. Only chance for O'Sullivan.
It was a little wayward, actually, that shot from Robertson, wasn't it? Cuba was travelling at pace. Ronnie O'Sullivan here with a great chance. It's a natural to get on the black.
Eight. 9.
Well, he could go into the side of the
16.
bunch here. I don't know if he's straight enough to avoid doing that. Yes, he played it gently,
17.
though.
Been eventful stuff, isn't it?
Might be one to the middle. Yes, it has. He's been very good. I mean, it's been Robertson
24.
making the running, actually, with big breaks. Sullivan winning the tactical battles, and a couple of frames he's won with clearances.
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
There's never going to be an easy shot, that. but Ronnie's very disappointed to have missed it because he's so good in the middle pockets.
Body language tells you what he thinks of that one. Didn't actually get that close to it. Or quite a bit of the jaw. Let off for Robertson.
One.
He'll settle for that.
Yeah, a little bit thin, but as you say, with the cue ball finishing there, to be on a colour of any kind is quite something. The problem is, if he pots the pink, the cue ball's like heading down towards the other end of the table. He's got to get on the loose red, I think. It's okay. It's a good shot.
Seven. Eight.
Immediately looks at the bunch of reds. The angle is perfect. Par will drive the cue ball into them because you can always knock a red in here. Played it fairly modestly in pace, actually.
13.
Something distracted him.
Fourteen. Twenty.
Robertson looking to take the lead in this semi-final for the first time.
$21.
I think he expected to get a little flick off the side of the bunch there because he certainly wouldn't have wanted to come as low on the black as this. Now this is missable. This is a little pressure shot that he's found himself faced with here. Well, I think he made himself go for it, but it wasn't very nice. And he never even got anywhere near the pocket. I mean, it's so thin, Philip, that he didn't reach.
Yeah, from the minute he hit it, he knew that had gone wrong. Now, how costly will it prove to be? Chance for O'Sullivan.
Amazing game, isn't it? He plays that shot on the black badly, and for the first time since he damaged his tip, he looked suspiciously down at it. Well, I don't think it was anything to do with the tip there. Just a bit of a gamble playing that black, and it's a gamble that has not paid off.
8. 9. 16. 17.
'I think the slightly worrying thing from Robertson's point of view is that we
24.
haven't seen the best of O'Sullivan yet. He's been competing very hard. He's not been scoring as heavily as he might usually,
25.
and yet he's giving himself a chance to lead this semi-final for the 4th time.
Yes, I think you're right. I would argue, while he's not scoring as highly as he can, other parts of his game seem to be working very well. Now his tactical
31.
and his counter-attacking aspects of his game have been terrific. And he's been outscored in general, but he's still finding ways to get in, ways to keep Robertson out in the frames that he's winning. Now he's not over the line yet. He's red colour. Such a good shot that is. It really is. He made it look easy, but it wasn't. Doing down off 2 cushions. Great shot.
Back in front then, barring snookers, which seem unlikely. You feel as though there's a lot more still to come from O'Sullivan today. Surely only a matter of time before he does start knocking in the really big breaks.
47.
Just 2 more frames to come after this one in this opening session. The red doesn't matter. The 52 break is enough for Ronnie O'Sullivan to lead the semi-final for the 4th time. Neil Robertson being asked to respond yet again. O'Sullivan, 4-3 to the good. Shanghai Masters, and once again, Neil Robertson playing catch-up. 4-3 down. 3 times he's managed to equalise. Can he do so again? Our understanding is, by the way, after that incident with his tip, that it is the same tip, so he somehow managed to repair it sufficiently to be able to see out this session at least. As O'Sullivan misses again from long range, that's one area of his game that he won't be thrilled with today. And worse for O'Sullivan, an easy starter for Robertson. And that looks scarcely believable, Neil, given the state of that tip as he left the arena. It's
well, as I said earlier, what it could be is that he's going to do something different to it between sessions, but in the meantime just try and get through it. Keep an eye on that, but as you say, a big chunk seemed to just disappear out the side of it. It looked like it couldn't be saved.
1.
Yet he came out and made a 57 break to level at 3 each when he returned to the venue. And now looking to equalise again. Once again, a steady hand required from Zhu Ying. Get the pink in the right spot. Obviously doesn't go on its own spot, so behind that cluster of reds in a direct line with its own spot without touching anything is the order of the day.
7. 8. 13. 14.
Their most recent meeting in the Tour Championship final had a similar feel insofar as there was Never more than 1 or 2 frames between them, particularly in the second half of the match. It really was tit for tat. O'Sullivan getting over the line 13-11.
Played that well, that shot, to finish where he has on the red. It was perfectly judged.
22.
What if he's got an angle to run through and come to the right side of the bunch here to get on that red below the pink? It would be the natural shot to play under the circumstances. I think he can do it.
29. Thirty.
As an example, once again, of Robertson's cue power. He could have been luckier.
Oh, I think he's played this superbly, and he's not on one. And the cue ball has just gone straight through the bunch, which was part of the plan. You need luck on that shot. He hasn't had any there at all. He's going to have to play safe, and he doesn't want to.
Neil Robertson, 37.
If O'Sullivan can win this frame, of course, it means he'll have a lead of some sort for the final session later.
We looked at a 5-ball plant there, well, not a 5-ball plant, but a plant in amongst those 5 reds, I should say. But you'd have to be absolutely sure of it, I think, to consider playing it. You may just play off the bunch instead. It's the kind of lead that he's been notching up in some of these frames, but not winning the frame in the end. Sullivan has been counter-attacking well towards the end of frames. All the big breaks have come from Robertson.
His long game hasn't been that great until now. That was a cracker.
Well, that's made up for the others, isn't it? Tremendous. Cue ball's again a little bit awkward. He's drifted onto the side rail, so this is not easy either. Oh, it sounded like a kick. It definitely made a bad sound.
Very clunky, and that may well have cost O'Sullivan the pot. Looks as though O'Sullivan was unfortunate there with a bad contact. Not that he ever makes a fuss about kicks. He's never been one to dwell on that kind of thing. In fact, I've heard him say in the past that he believes that kicks are more often than not the result of bad cueing. A view that isn't necessarily shared by his peers, but he certainly doesn't complain about them. Looks as though he did get one there, which potentially scuppered the pot on the black. Probably seen already today that O'Sullivan is old school when it comes to chalk. He uses the more traditional cube-shaped chalk. I recall in one match he actually tried the newer version and then switched back to the old version mid-match. The newer version seemingly having reduced the number of kicks that players get.
Well, this is a chance has turned up here because it was not the best of shots from Robertson. Well, it really was an opportunity. You can imagine the damage that Ronnie could have done had that gone in.
Good pot from Robertson to get back in. And a clear opportunity now, already 44 in front, to level this semi-final for the 4th time.
9.
If you joined this match late, Neil, and you hadn't seen the incident with Tipgate, you'd assume that everything was as you'd expect. There's no real signs of any problem with that tip.
No, it was a deep screw on the yellow, which he jumped it, and then he looked absolutely crestfallen because he looked at his tip and a big chunk was hanging off.
15.
So both players left the arena, and they didn't take the full 15 minutes which you're allowed, so I suppose the clues were there that he hasn't changed it, but there was quite a bit of damage to it. So we'll see if he has a rethink in between sessions, but there's so much to play for, isn't there? Looking like going 4-4.
20.
Put it this way, it's not going to last very long. That I can tell you, because you can't recover that much from that much tip going missing off your cue. So if he hasn't got to change it now, it'll have to be changed at some point in the near future. Of course, if he wins today, he plays in the final against Sean Murphy tomorrow. So probably got a short lifespan, that tip.
26.
I guess the other question is whether any of the shots he would
27.
normally have at his disposal are in any way compromised by what happened.
Sometimes the screw shots might be affected because he was playing the screw shot on the yellow, which damaged it. Anyway, at the moment, he's looking fine, actually. I was a little surprised to see how confident he looked because, as I say, he was more than a bit disappointed when he left the arena.
34. 35.
Yes, taking on Ronnie O'Sullivan in a major semi-final is tough enough without having tip problems, but nothing seems to have fazed Robertson today. He's lost frames he'll feel he might have won. He's scored great resilience, all sorts of things to contend with today in Shanghai, but Ronnie O'Sullivan, try as he might, can't shake him off. O'Sullivan levels for the 4th time. It's 4 each. In the 9th and final frame of our first session, and it has not disappointed. It's been dramatic, eventful, right from the off when O'Sullivan stole the first frame on the black. Neil Robertson has been impressive in the way he's bounced back every time he's found himself behind. Lost half his tip as well, but that's not fazed him either. Can he now edge in front for the first time and take a slender lead into this evening's finale?
Oh, I don't know if anything goes in that bunch of reds. And he quickly out of his chair to have a look. Well, this thin one behind the black looks horrible. Looks like he's going to have to play a safety shot. I think Ronnie would be particularly disappointed to lose this session because he's stolen a couple of frames. Then we had the problem with the tip, so you think, well, he's going to have to lead by some score, but Robertson could conceivably be in front going into tonight, and that would be psychologically quite a big move, I think.
Yeah, the reaction when he lost half his tip from Robertson, I think, was one of concern that his chances of winning this match had been seriously compromised, but the way in which he's responded since the running repairs have been made bode very well. But that is a terrific pot from O'Sullivan, from tight to the cushion. That's as good as it gets from long range. Beautifully cued. That one less so. That's a surprise.
Yeah, it was two good shots in a row. I think it's suggested he missed it because he's trying to hold for the next colour. It's kind of a natural thing to hit the top jaw on those shots. Hope they'll go in. He has done. He's got away with it, though. There haven't been that many easy pots missed in this session, especially from O'Sullivan. It's the odd one here or there. That is a big mistake. That really is. That's an unforced safety error. Again, fairly uncharacteristic. The last two shots he's played, I think, happened to be the worst two he's played in the whole match.
And maybe that one was a hangover from the previous one, the misread. Having got in so brilliantly, a little shake of the head from O'Sullivan.
Just head on that bottom red and it goes. It's a very good shot. Yeah, that's really nice. And this is a good chance now. He's lost a couple of frames where he was in first. This time, Ronnie with first chance and didn't make many from it.
Searching. 14.
I think what Robertson has been showing in this first session is that he's certainly not remotely intimidated by playing O'Sullivan today. And we know that there are players on the tour who would be, understandably so, because of O'Sullivan's skill and track record. But Robertson is absolutely going toe-to-toe with the defending champion.
No, I don't think he's frightened of him. I think he's just been beaten by him. I think, at this level, these players are not overly fazed by each other. There will be a few exceptions. There'll be certain players that, they're not that keen on playing. But I think he's very much on the day with these top-class snooker players now.
29. 30.
Well, one thing is clear, it doesn't seem as though Robertson has been impeded whatsoever by the problems with his tip.
36.
And you could certainly make a case for him deserving to edge this session. He has scored the heavier of the two. O'Sullivan would have fancied a first session advantage, having 4 times taken the lead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it all will boil down to tonight, because someone had to be in front. 5-4 means we've got everything to play for, but there is a nagging feeling that O'Sullivan should
50.
be going into the evening session with some sort of an advantage, which seems highly unlikely now.
51.
It's been a good session, and comes, of course, as no surprise that it would be. Tonight will be even better.
Robertson's 5th half century, 2 of those 100 breaks.
57.
O'Sullivan has made 3. Half centuries, that is. His highest break, 62.
58.
So this is the one, frame ball, this next red.
64.
So, good recovery, really, in more ways than one from Robertson in this second half of the session.
It's been riveting stuff right from the off.
71.
An eventful session.
72.
Kind of session you can't take your eyes off. Both players have contributed to a great occasion here, and it is set up beautifully for the final instalment later. Never more than a frame between them, but 4 times Robertson has hit back from going a frame behind, and he is going to emerge with the advantage. And whoever did repair that tip during the 10-minute break, during the 5th frame, perhaps it was Robertson. Well, they did a very good job by the looks of things.
Yeah, he seems fine, doesn't he? And, he was playing well beforehand, and it never really affected his concentration, which is a sign of well, he's thinking, how positive he feels.
95.
Of course, we've had a couple of centuries already, both from Robertson. That's now a 3rd. So 3 centuries in the session. He's done all the big scoring against the greatest break builder the game has ever seen.
102.
If you're in O'Sullivan's corner, you'll say, well, hang on, you actually stole a couple of frames early. So there's an argument that you could be 6-3 or even 7-2 down, but you're within a frame. And we go again tonight.
Yeah, if this was a boxing match, I think Robertson would probably be 2 or 3 rounds ahead.
111.
As it is, he's going to be 1 frame ahead. But he is playing so well. This is the form we saw last season when he won 3 ranking titles for the first time in a single campaign, and he's picked up where he left off. A tremendous clearance from Neil Robertson, a third century of the session, a thoroughly engrossing session. The crowd have been royally entertained here in Shanghai, and there's a whole lot more still,
I'm sure, to book their place in the final against Sean Murphy, but only one can come through. Neil Robertson's made 3 centuries despite all the tip trouble.
Thank you.
Let's see how he gets on in the first frame of the evening session.
Well, they both looked very determined there. So we're shaking hands, no smiles, just pure concentration.
As Sullivan was saying after the winner against Kyren Wilson, where of course he'd been 5-1 down, that he had felt a slight lack of sharpness that of course comes from the fact that this is his first tournament since the World Championship. He lost in the first round there, so it's a few months just getting that competitiveness back. Robertson's beaten Ding Junhui 6-3, Barry Hawkins 6-2 to get to the semi-finals.
Yes, he's a little hesitant to play that long red, although that's the one that will keep the game flowing. He's afraid of leaving the long red to the right corner on. But he's covered it. And the red not quite reaching that middle pocket, although got very close to it.
Well, big crowd in, which is good to see. And they've got a ringside seat on what feels like a final. Of course, this is a semi-final, but this is a sort of match that you really look forward to, particularly over this distance as well, first to 10.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this tournament, isn't it? That every match is like, or could be, the final. Oh, great matches, great players. Meanwhile, Neil Robertson having to go at that long red there, going into the pack of reds, and he's been really fortunate there not to leave anything on. The safety's easy enough, but he could so easily have left the game on there. And still may have. What a terrific shot from Ronnie O'Sullivan. And they certainly liked that one, didn't they? Put a smile on the faces. What a shot.
Well, I think we've seen there from both players the approach here. It's going to be attack. No quarter given. O'Sullivan in with a miraculous red. A man who really should have been on his way home, but Kyren Wilson could not land the knockout blow in that quarter-final.
9.
And he's got something, O'Sullivan, that you can't manufacture, reputation. That aura of invincibility that's been built up over decades.
Yeah, Stephen Hendry had that, Steve Davis had that. It was like worth a couple of frames start, wasn't it?
14.
People were just a little bit wary of what was going to come from those type of players, O'Sullivan included. Seemed to spring off the black cushion there, but he's okay.
Highest break so far in the match, 62. I suspect that if he's going to win this match, that will have to improve.
22.
Yeah, I think he played the cannon there to the red, which would have left him on a red to the left corner, but he always knew he was going to be on this red if he missed it. And now no choice but to go into them, and maybe try and screw onto the red above and to the left of the black. Well, he's on one. Could have been easier, bridging over the reds. Played the cannon to the red to hold for the black. Again, played that one well, screwing around the two cushions. It was missable, that black.
39.
Table looks to be playing superbly fast. Just over Ronnie. Played for the red just below the pink.
44.
But again, knew he was going to be on this red.
45.
Well, could play the cannon this time if he could miss the pink on the right. Just like that. Now, is the red going to go in? Well, he played to push it towards the corner, and he couldn't have played it any better. You can't legislate for knocking the red in. He missed the pink on the right, as suggested, opened all the reds up. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, because he was really going well, wasn't he? Got the good initial pot to get in, was looking really determined to kill the frame off. Little bits of luck, of course, play their part. He had some good luck in frame 3. O'Sullivan, he fluked a yellow, missed it initially, and then it went in another pocket, cleared up to win that frame.
Good speed there on the cue ball. And that red on the right side cushion could come into play if he plays the pot. Managed to miss it.
We may at some point get a chance to look at Robertson's tip, but I'm told that it's the same one as the first session. He hasn't got a new one on, he hasn't repaired it, so it's still a little piece of it missing.
Sullivan should be happy to leave that red on the side cushion. That was the easiest one to play safe off. Now all the reds are in play. Sullivan got to be careful because 40 points at this level is nothing. It's very close. It's very close. Great safety, and that's what he played. Going round the 3 cushions. Tap on the table there from Robertson, appreciating that good safety. He was thinking of the 2 cushion escape there, but very difficult to play it. If he's going to play it, it's got to be off the 2 reds to the left of the pink, above and to the left of the pink. Can't afford to play it, the lower one. Well, just getting the line first time round.
Foul and miss. Ronnie O'Sullivan, 4. Ronnie.
Oh, a little closer.
Foul
Can't
and
afford
miss.
to catch
Ronnie
the red
O'Sullivan,
too
4.
thick. But that was very close to becoming a good shot. A good escape.
Ronnie. Foul and miss.
Exactly
Ronnie
the same.
O'Sullivan, 4.
Well, some of the O'Sullivan fans applauding him having the white put back. Well, it's stacking up in terms of points now. That's 4 times he's
Ronnie
missed.
O'Sullivan, 4. Back.
56 in it.
Still plenty left on the table. He'll be delighted to have given those points away if he can hit a red and get safe. He's got there, but too thick, and left O'Sullivan with a chance. That was the danger.
One.
It was against Robertson that O'Sullivan made his 1,000th career century last season. Last frame of the Players' Championship final in Preston. Ooh, that was surprising.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 1.
Now, what's the damage? That yellow just travelling enough. And a surprising miss from O'Sullivan.
Well, this is where Robertson knows he's got to take advantage. And as Joe said, they're all there, they're all out in the open.
Well, he would have liked to have been straighter on the red.
8.
Going to have to go down the table now. He could play for the yellow. Well,
9.
now he's got the problem that O'Sullivan had. There was no easy red to play for. He's got to be spot on with his position or play a cannon here. And look slow.
14.
And that's what caused Ronnie O'Sullivan to miss the last time round. He was playing for the only red that would go from the yellow. He needed a good recovery, and he got one. And can he see the pink? The pink's easier. Good pot, back in prime position. Just one awkward red near the right side cushion. The yellow a little awkward.
22.
And hit it slightly.
29.
Yeah, we saw him a bit on that yellow, looking at where he wanted to leave the cue ball, as you say, for the red, and just seemed to take his eye off the pot.
30.
Well, the wrong side of the blue, which isn't going to make the red any easier. So this red is missable.
35.
Good pressure pot from Robertson there. That was missable. And a nice angle on the pink to get to the yellow.
Well, he was 4-3 down, and of course at that stage with 2 frames left, in prospect of going 6-3 down and
42.
having it all to do tonight, but he actually has a chance to open a 2-frame lead.
Yeah, again though, he's not straight enough on the yellow. He would have liked a straight pull back to the green. He's got to work the cue ball now. Oh, and he's miscued.
Well, that's the tip again. We were saying about the damaged tip, which he hasn't repaired. Oh dear. So Sullivan 15 in front.
请大保持安静.
The white clean. He needs yellow, green and brown.
Yeah, that was so unfortunate from Robertson, but he was putting so much into it, trying to create the angle with a deep screw shot. But again, this isn't a gimme. Good positional shot there from O'Sullivan.
Well, it's a tale of 2 yellows in this frame. O'Sullivan missed it initially to give Robertson the chance, and then Robertson playing with a damaged tip, miscued. And it's given O'Sullivan this opening, and already 2 snookers needed.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 9.
It'd be 1 snooker to tie on the pink. He's still looking at the tip, though, and that's going to be an issue, clearly, this evening. Already has been in this frame.
Yeah, O'Sullivan could be just a little bit sorry that he didn't play for the blue off the brown. It was such an easy brown to get onto the blue, but didn't really get onto it. It could come back to bite him. Well, he was trying something that was so difficult there. So that should be a frame over with.
And it means this match effectively now best of 9. Never been more than a frame between them. Well, pink's not in. I think everyone expected him to pot that.
Myself included.
The point is, if we knew what was going to happen, sport wouldn't be any fun, would it? That was a good chance to get a snooker.
Again, it was a very difficult shot he was playing. Lots of left-hand side on the cue ball to try and check it behind the black.
The thing is, from Robertson's perspective, you know, obviously he's made the decision to continue with tip, but the fact something's gone wrong in the first frame at a vital stage, it's got to be in his mind now. Meanwhile, O'Sullivan knocks in a much more difficult pink than the one he missed to the middle. So Ronnie O'Sullivan, to the delight of his fans, has levelled up. What an exciting match here in Shanghai. Now, I think, yeah, he's going to go out and, I think, get this tip seen to. He may be a couple of minutes here, just a couple of repairs to O'Sullivan, who's going to, might be a couple of minutes. Actually, he wasn't too long at all. 5-5.
From 11, Ronnie O'Sullivan's break.
Sean Murphy waiting in the final tomorrow. See Robertson in the background just working on that tip. There's enough to think about as it is, playing O'Sullivan without having that on your mind, but that's not the best break-off shot from O'Sullivan.
Oh, that's probably the worst I've ever seen him play. Just reaching the baulk line, leaving an easy-ish right on. Yeah, that's certainly affected him. Miscuing on the yellow. You would expect him to pot that.
Yeah, well, you know, his cue's damaged. Simple as that. And O'Sullivan, I mean, Robertson actually apologised for not leaving an easy pot on, and O'Sullivan has stepped in, as he did at the start of the last frame, knocked in a terrific red.
Black tied up for the moment. But if he could get top side of the blue here, split the reds open, he could develop the black.
5.
I've decided to use the pink, maybe a little too straight on the red. Yang just placing that pink at the back of the pack there, pink spot held, and it certainly makes the pack more inviting with the pink there. Oh, that's
12.
a little short. He wanted a little bit more pace in the cue ball there. He can get into the pack, but not with as much power as what he would have. Not on anything.
17.
Nothing easy anyway. Good recovery shot. But couldn't put anything on the cue ball to avoid that red on the cushion. So surely this time the safety. Well, maybe not. Oh, well, what can you do about shots like that? Bridging over the red. The blue was tough enough. Had the red not been there bridging over.
It's already the best 23 break you'll ever see.
24.
He said, as I mentioned earlier, felt he was lacking sharpness against Wilson, but the point is he still won. And now he's starting to look really good.
If the pink goes, he's in business.
30.
This time a better angle on the blue to go into them. Now this time it's worked out better. He's developed the pink and black and all the reds.
35. Six.
Coming down for that red by the black spot. His brain always working. Could have played for any number of reds there, but chose to play for this red. So that if he does pot the black, the black spot's free. But he can concentrate on the pink and blue now. He can win the frame easily from the pink and blue.
$48. 49.
Just under hit that one slightly. Didn't really want to be playing the cannon to the pink from this red. Could go wrong.
$56.
So the red's queuing up to be potted into the left corner. But getting to that side of the table a little bit more difficult. Yeah, a little bit more difficult because he played it with right-hand side on the cue ball. So again, he's given Neil Robertson a chance to hit straight back. Did it in the last frame. Robertson was unfortunate to have got the miscue. But this is what he needed. He needed an easy chance. Try and settle himself again.
One.
Now he would like the black back on its spot. Pink not in the best position to get to, but he can do it this time round. Again, this is going to take a deep screw shot, this.
6.
Right down at the bottom of the cue ball.
7. $12. 13.
Ordinarily, you'd fancy him, but he's got this issue with his cue. Damaged tip, which cost him the last frame.
18.
Yeah, this would hurt Ronnie O'Sullivan. Missing that relatively easy blue.
19.
Perfectly onto the blue to get to this last red. Inch perfect. And he looked at playing for the pink this time round. Just working out the score. Would he need the pink and black? David's normally quicker at that than me.
25.
Well, he's going to need them all, isn't he?
And that's why he's considering the pink, getting the pink back on its spot. Yeah, good shot. It makes the black a little bit easier to get to from the pink spot.
31.
If he gets that far, it's not a gimme, that black.
33.
O'Sullivan just needed the blue and a red, and it would have been Snooker's required, but missed the blue.
36.
Doesn't want to be straight. Just about got enough angle to get closer to the pink. And nothing for being straight on the pink here. Either side is good,
45.
but straight. And that's just about right to drop in behind the black.
$51.
Oh, that's a little bit too much. Oh, now big decision to make. If he plays the pot it from there, he's got to play it dead weight to give the black every chance. Otherwise, it's the safety. Just a little bit too hard in potting the pink. No.
What a sickener for the Aussie. I bet he wishes now O'Sullivan had just won the frame when he was in. He had the chance, he didn't quite come right on the black, he's left it hanging invitingly in the jaws. In it goes, and Ronnie O'Sullivan's back in front. Another very dramatic frame, and it's Ronnie O'Sullivan leading in Shanghai, 6-5. Masters, and Neil Robertson has had to absorb several blows today. Another big one there. Had a chance to clear up, left the black in the jaws of the pocket. He trails 6-5. Been watching since the start today, you'll know that he lost two very close frames early on. The first on the black, O'Sullivan made a really good clearance there, and then O'Sullivan had a fluke on a yellow in clearing up to win the third. So you put that together with a couple of close frames in this session. Robertson, you know, could be a long way in front. He knows that. The fact is he's trailing again. Well, a phone went off there just as he was playing that, and he didn't get close to the pot.
请观众再检查一下手机。
Shouldn't happen.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, David. Just as you're taking your shot, phone goes off. Too late to stop the cue. I'm going. Now, will he go into them here? Oh, try and play for that loose red. Cue ball's just a little high on the blue for comfort. Well, was there any doubt? Now, is he on one? Is he on an easy one to the left corner? I'm not sure. He's on one to the left middle or the yellow pocket. He didn't hold back there, did he? He's a brave player, Neil Robertson. And the way he played that black in the last frame tells you that he's a brave player, because it was always going to be right over the pocket if he missed it. But that was the way to play it, to give it every chance of dropping. Just didn't quite get close enough to the pocket.
He's also the sort of player, and we know this from having watched him, you know, when something goes wrong, when he has a setback, it seems to make him stronger. He does come out determined to put it right.
Big shot this, big shot. Well, he knew he was leaving a red on if he missed it. Or did he try and hide that red to the left corner? If so, then I think he still left a red to the left middle. So I'm not sure if he can play the cannon to the red directly above the black, but if he could, that would be the ideal ball to play for. Try and leave an angle this time round to play the cannon to that red.
Nine.
Perfect. Very nearly got the cover, but I think he's okay.
16. 17.
Remember, Ronnie O'Sullivan hasn't lost in Shanghai since 2016. Won the last two stagings of this tournament, first as a ranking event and then last year as an invitation title.
24.
This was the first of 5 titles
25.
he won last season. Of course, he did go back to the top of the world rankings, although Judd Trump has now overtaken him again.
32. 33.
I think the rivalry with Trump is interesting. Obviously, they can't play each other in this event, but you can have a... You don't need to be playing the other guy to have a rivalry with him. He's seen Trump take the headlines and the plaudits and the
41.
trophies of late, but he can remind everyone that he's very much still a major force in the game if he wins his first tournament of the season.
Again, that's a nice shot he's just played there, giving himself choice of 2 reds, one to the corner, one to the middle. By screwing around the 2 cushions, he gave himself that chance. Perfectly on both reds. Now, I may play a little cannon here to that red to the left of the pink spot. Again, doesn't need to.
.50 in front.
56. 57.
Robertson took that red onto the yellow pocket. It's a little bit do or die.
He was unfortunate, really, wasn't he, Robertson, because he could have been on something a lot easier after splitting the pack as well as he did. Very, very unfortunate. Tough red.
64.
Made tougher by the fact that he knew he was leaving the frame on.
65.
If he missed it.
This is O'Sullivan's highest break of the match so far. He needs another red after the black. And he'll be 2 clear for the first time.
72.
Yeah, crowd applauding. He still needs this red though.
73.
No problem. So a quick kill, and the question now, is he going to sprint? sprint to the finish line. He looks very confident, Ronnie O'Sullivan. In the odd error, he knows he could have lost the first 2 frames of the night, but he didn't lose them.
78.
Got one more frame to come before the interval, a big frame for the Australian.
79.
And look at that shot again. Choice of 2 reds to play for.
86.
Excellent positional shot.
87.
Misses the pink on 87, but he punished the Neil Robertson miss. That big red he took on and didn't get. 87 from O'Sullivan. He leads now 7-5. It's Ronnie O'Sullivan for the first time. 2 frames clear. 7-5. 3 away from a meeting with Shaun Murphy in the final.
Well, again, I said in the last time he broke off that never seen him break off so poorly, but this is another one and a chance for Robertson. And missed it by a long way again. He missed it thick the last time he played that same shot. And that's not looking good for Robertson fans. He could have won all 3 frames, to be fair. He went into the pack in the last frame and didn't finish on an easy red. Could have won the previous 2. But now he's seen that O'Sullivan has got his eye in.
Yeah, your best chance at beating O'Sullivan, of course, is to get him under pressure, but to do that, you need to be in front. Often when he goes in front, he stays there.
Has he come far enough? Anxious looks there from O'Sullivan. And that's careless if he's not on this red. He had such a large margin to play with there. Could have hit it 3 foot harder and still been on the red. Well, a little bit of frustration maybe, because look where the cue ball is. I'm pretty sure he tried to hide that red to the left corner. But looking good. Looking good now. And it's very intimidating for your opponent to see him going for shots, reckless shots really. That double wasn't guaranteed by any means. But all of a sudden your opponent's thinking, well, he can't miss. And he isn't doing it at the moment.
No, I think over the course of the day, you know, his positional play hasn't been as precise as maybe
31.
You're used to seeing, but, you know, we can still keep the break going by pulling out the great pot. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is just getting to the winning line, ultimately. He is a perfectionist, we know that, but you can improve if you're still here.
A fraction. Very nearly overhit it.
39.
I think this is a lively table, Joe, isn't it? This table 1 now.
It's very fast and it's springy off the cushions.
Well, that seemed a little kick.
47.
It sounded heavy as well, didn't it?
Cue ball just seemed to die.
Too high.
Yeah, it made a difference.
47.
Break ends at 47.
Yeah, I don't think he got positioned though. Sullivan will be delighted. Looking at the possibility of a plant. Yes, great shot. He's such a brave player, Neil Robertson. Didn't just play that plant as a shot to nothing. He played for the blue, and look where he is on the blue. Now, he could decide to go into them here. If he could miss the pink or catch it thin on the right, they should split nicely if he plays that shot. Caught it full. Still unfortunate not to be on one. Just not getting the luck when he needs it.
Neil Robertson 6.
Finished with a good safety though. No easy path back to balk without playing a risky shot. Looks like he's playing it. In fact, the red may even go. Well, a half chance for Neil Robertson. Well, maybe not. Maybe the red doesn't go past the black. It does. And this time he knocks it in. It looked a little bit springy off that side cushion, I've got to say. Good recovery, but not the best kiss. Gonna fight through this bad running he's having. Harder, it was in, but a gift for Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, he's not backing away from anything, Robertson, but that was not guaranteed, and he didn't pot it, and he'll be expecting now to be 8-5 down at the interval.
1.
In front.
7. 8.
Look at the way he played that shot, left-handed with right-hand side on the cue ball to get closer to the black.
So another check of the scoreboard tells him it's 2 more balls needed.
15. 16.
Could have left himself a little better on this black. But no problem.
Yeah, it was a bit unlucky first time of asking that kick. Made the black that he missed on 47 missable, but He's made the most of this chance. It's been a close match, this. It feels closer than 8-5. In fact, Robertson has had chances certainly to be in front himself, but score is what the score is, and Ronnie O'Sullivan is going to be 2 frames away from another final here in Shanghai.
31.
Well, Neil Robertson came out tonight leading 5-4. But O'Sullivan has won all 4 frames. The rocks set in the opening frame. That miscue on the yellow. Neil Robertson with the damaged tip. That was his chance to potentially get away himself. Didn't happen. As another double flies in. Well, a sort of rueful look on Neil Robertson's face, as I say, 5-4 up coming out tonight, but he's in big trouble at the...
Neil Robertson to break.
Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to have to start here for the Australian.
Starts with a good break off. Getting that cue ball tight to the cushion makes this pot very difficult. Doesn't look as though he can take the red on and miss the black. Well, he might be tempted by the red next to the black into the left middle. Playing the snooker instead, I feel. Not expecting to be left a red from this escape, but he's got the safety advantage. Easy enough to skim off the reds or play the other red. Leave the cue ball in the balk area. Now, could have played it better. He's allowed O'Sullivan to get his hand on the table, and he just might take this red on to the left corner. He'd only believe in the red he's playing. Those are good odds. Great pot, coming round the 2 cushions to finish perfectly on the black. Tremendous shot, but from a poor safety, you've got to say, from us, from Neil Robertson. Well, that's got the reds open. Nothing easy, but this red may cut to the right middle. Don't quite know where the cue ball's going.
Nine.
I'll settle for that. Slightly the wrong side of the blue, but again, should be okay.
We saw in our interval coverage, looking back to last year, in the last frame against Hawkins in the final,
14.
just how quickly he can kill a frame off once he gets the balls open.
Well, got him with a great red, but shouldn't have been allowed to see it. And that just
15.
dropped in the pocket. Surprisingly, playing for one of the balk colours, I thought it was easy enough to play for the blue. This guarantees him getting back to the reds. And now choice of reds to get to the black.
18. $19. $26. 27.
Well, he's just got to hope something goes wrong here for O'Sullivan. Be very annoyed with himself that he allowed him to see that red that he knocked in.
34.
Because he's at a stage where he cannot afford to make
35.
mistakes like that.
Yes, it was elementary. Just skimming off the reds. The cue ball should have been tight to the cushion. There's no reason why it shouldn't have been within an inch or so. Well, he was hoping for something to go wrong, and that's a very fortuitous kiss to leave himself perfectly on this red.
43.
Just nudging the red away from the other one to develop them.
$50. 51.
Well, he could decide to go into them, but there's no need to. Just a gentle little split, leaving himself on that red to the left middle. Knew exactly what he was doing there. $57.
Yeah, and he knows it instinctively as well. His mind works so quickly. Average shot time, 17.5 seconds for the match. 2 balls away from a 9-5 lead.
In a matter of just minutes.
65.
This is the guy that made a maximum in just over 5 minutes. And long may it continue, I say, because we may never see his like again.
72. 73.
All these millions
79.
of Chinese people watching O'Sullivan play, and I'm sure that one of them will want to aspire to what he's doing. But
Yeah.
so special a talent.
Well, that's the thing. What's interesting, you know, he's been the dominant figure in the game,
26.
certainly the last 10
27.
years, last 15 years. He's also been the most popular. Go back to the times of Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry, they were absolutely dominant, but of course, because they were so winning so much, a lot of people wanted them to lose. But it seems everyone wants Ronnie to win.
94.
And this is why breaks like this, it's going to be a century in the blink of an eye. He's annoyed he didn't get the red out. But that's the perfectionist in him. Neil Robertson just had to sit and watch. Well, the red's in anyway.
You just can't miss, Kenny. Tremendous.
$102 from Ronnie O'Sullivan, his first century of the match, his 5th century of the tournament. He needs one more. O'Sullivan requires one more frame, and he's in the Shanghai Masters final once again. being 9-5 down is bad enough, but how he's gone 9-5 down. Latest frame in O'Sullivan's century. Robertson with it all to do. He's a very determined player, a great player, but this is a tall order, make no mistake. Starts with a good pot.
Yeah, he's been missing them thick to this pocket. And thick again. Fortunately, hasn't left anything on. He's frustrated because he can't understand why he's missing those balls to this pocket so thick. Why, he's saying. They normally go in. Well, he didn't play the double, otherwise he would have tried to play onto the black. The black didn't go to the centre, so there was no value. Nearly went in. Oh, he doesn't want this in the pocket, surely not. Got very close. Well, let's open the frame up a little, playing that thin safety. Well, it's a half chance, that's all you could say, because this is a very difficult pot. Little cut back into that right corner. Good shot. He decided to hold for the black. Thought he was going to play up for the blue there, but tough black, tough position. There goes the black, and he's held the cue ball well. He's done well to hold for this red. Such a thin shot on the black.
9.
Just wriggled in, but maybe a chance now to go into them. Not the best of packs to go into. More stun than screw. Happy. Who's happy?
16.
It's a big bounce. Just under hit it. Another tough black. Probably try and play the cannon to the red above and to the right of the black. There's two reds to the right of the pink. If you could play the cannon to them, he should be on the red to the middle. First of all, get the black, which he has done, and he's on the red to the middle, maybe on the one to the corner. Tremendous shot.
25.
Still may need to go into that cluster again. So if you can play the cannon to that red just to the right of the pink, if you missed it, it'd be on the red over the middle. The reason why I suggested that shot is that it develops that red, but being a left-handed player, he might still be able to get to that red. Again, could play into the pack, but if he does miss the pink on the right, I'll catch it thin on the right. That's the one, and that leaves him on the red to the middle. And they're all developed now.
38.
Neil Robertson, the most successful non-British player in snooker history, 16 ranking titles to his name. And he, of course, grew up without the advantage of the infrastructure that the British players had. He had to leave his home and chance his arm. And that tells you something about his character, the fact that he did that.
Well, that's a good point, that. Without the infrastructure of what the British players had, because we really did have a good one, with all the leagues, knockouts, city championships, county championships, all stood everybody in good stead. So to do as well as what he has without all of that, it just shows you that it can be done, and I expect a Chinese player to do just that, because they've started having the infrastructure as well now. Oh, he's miscued again there, I feel, because that cue ball didn't come back.
You could actually see, as he was playing it, the little bit of the tip that's missing. He did have the option, Robertson, to put a new tip on, get Paul Collier, the referee, to do it. Decided not to. He may wish now that he had done. It definitely cost him the first frame of the night.
Well, that's a terrible shot, that, from O'Sullivan, leaving this red on, but it's still a tough shot, this, and lots of pressure on it. Yeah, there was lots of pressure on that. He knew he was sticking frame and match up, but maybe that red going next to the yellow may have saved things. Well, I thought he left a red on to the right corner. Obviously not, so he's got away with that one.
Yeah, the other point about, growing up in Australia, of course, ultimately turning professional, he had to come to Britain because that's where all the qualifying was held. So it was a big risk. Initially, when he came over, he didn't last very long. He went back home. He did think about walking away, but gave it one more go and reached the top of the sport. And that's quite an inspiring story, I think, for anyone who has a dream to follow.
All or nothing again.
Yeah, it's just not happening, is it?
Well, it's happened here because he hasn't. I don't think he's left anything easy on. And that's what needs to happen. The last time he played the red to the middle, he got away with it. Oh, this is a tough one. Yeah, that was tough. I'm just having a look to see if he's left one on, but he's left one on to the middle if not.
Well, yes, but he can't rely on not leaving balls on when he's missed. He's got to start knocking them in if he's going to win.
I suppose you can afford to take that tough red on along the cushion like he did when you're 9-5 up. Well, different now. Well, surely not playing the plant with that red over the pocket. The red must go into the pocket. Turn the camera around a little. But that's where you'd need to hit.
One.
Bit of showboating from Hawkeye, wasn't it, that? I won't play the straight red. Meanwhile, the little extensions rolled to the edge of the auditorium. As I say, though, he knows he's got to now cut out all errors if he's going to turn this around. He had a bit of fortune missing and not leaving O'Sullivan in. That's not bound to continue. Good chance now to win this one. Black puts him 60 in front.
Well, if he's not hard enough for the red to the corner, he's got one to the middle. He won't give in, that's for sure. Robertson, he's disappointed in his tip for sure, but he'll keep trying.
22. 23.
Just the black needed to have pulled a frame back. The crowd letting him know that was frame ball.
30. Here Robertson sits.
Well, 2 snookers required. Will O'Sullivan carry on? No, he won't. So Robertson has pulled one back. He still needs another 4 if he's going to turn this around, but at least he's extended the match. O'Sullivan now leads 9-6. He's not happy with that tip, though, is he? This frame just looking at that tip, but he won the frame. Despite the earlier miscue, it's 9-6. O'Sullivan still one away from the final.
Yeah, and this time he does leave that red on, and he can avoid the black and the red. So you've got to call these chances nowadays. Decent chances. So you could call that a let-off. And because he missed the red thin, that cue ball's travelled further away from the ball cushion than he wanted. Oh, look at that for a shot from O'Sullivan. Terrific red, terrific cannon, and a chance. Just so talented. Had a go at the red, and as I say, missed it thin.
9.
Left the red on, but my word, what a red he potted there, O'Sullivan. Now, chance maybe to go into the reds, develop them, stay on the red. Played it perfectly. Never avoids the shot, O'Sullivan.
16.
And he's got choice of reds here to take, one to the left, one to the right. But by taking the one to the right corner, that frees the red just above the cue ball into the same pocket.
17.
So, thinking all the time, which is the best red to play for. Both reds led to the black. Lots of reverse side on the cue ball, left hand side,
24.
springs off right.
25.
And things happen so quickly. And O'Sullivan's at the table.
$30. 31.
Straighter on the blue than he wanted. Well, those 2 reds to the right of the pink, well, they mustn't go to that right corner, otherwise he'd play a little screw back to where he is now and play those 2 reds. So they obviously don't go, so playing the more difficult red to the left corner Could be a little bit of a life here for Robertson.
36.
Needs a good recovery shot. Right in the middle. No danger of missing that one.
37.
And the kids could have been kinder. Not quite on it to the corner, not quite on it to the middle. Oh, but just struck it in easily. Just fractionally underhit it for the two reds to the middle. But no problem to O'Sullivan.
Looks set to go 6-4 down. First frame of the evening was big. It's when Robertson miscued on the yellow. Had a chance to really get O'Sullivan
50.
under pressure.
51.
Yeah, that miscue on the yellow in the first frame of this evening has proved very costly.
I think apart from anything else, it just planted a seed of doubt in Robertson's mind as well. If you're not confident in your
58.
equipment, then you know it's already hard. You're playing Ronnie O'Sullivan,
59.
but that's on your mind as well. It was always going to be a tall order. He's a couple of balls away here from killing it off. He'll need red and a colour.
Not quite hard enough for the easier reds. But everything going in the middle of the pocket. There's no danger of anything missing.
Yeah, that's what's been impressive, really. Even when he's not been in an ideal position, he's kept on potting. And this is the ball that's going to put him in the final. Ronnie O'Sullivan then with a chance to win a third successive Shanghai Masters. It's Sean Murphy, the last man standing in his way.
70.
And what a final it's going to be. Sean Murphy playing at his best again. It's great to see. And O'Sullivan starting to hit the ball well.
78.
Don't miss it. We won't.
Best of 21, 200,000 to the winner, and 100,000 to the runner-up. Big money match.
85. 86.
So is he going to finish with a second century? Neil Robertson obviously will look back on this match thinking about the sixth frame where he damaged his tip, and after that he was always up against it, although of course he did make a century after that in the last frame of the session.
91.
Chose not to put a new tip on.
92.
But the other problem he had was who he was playing. Ronnie O'Sullivan, first tournament of his 28th season as a professional, still
99.
producing the goods. It's another century, second of the session, just underlining how well he's playing. He should have been out. Kyren Wilson was 5-1 up, had chances to beat him, didn't put him down. The only man who can do that now is Sean Murphy.
109. 112. 116. 121.
One of the most remarkable careers of any sports person. Continuing at the very highest level.
127.
nearly 3 decades on from when he turned pro. Quite incredible. And a trademark show-stopping finish, a second century from Ronnie O'Sullivan. The post-mortem over the tip, obviously that did not help Neil Robertson's chances. And O'Sullivan sympathetic as the players, as I say, conduct their own post-mortem into this semi-final. But the fact remains, it's Ronnie O'Sullivan the winner.
The second semi-final of the Shanghai Masters Snooker, the first to 10 frames to play Sean Murphy for the title.
Thank you. The first frame.
And after
Ronnie
the
O'Sullivan to break.
customary pre-match handshake, it's Ronnie O'Sullivan to get us underway in frame 1. 9 in this session. Usual interval after 4.
Yes, indeed, trademark left-handed break from O'Sullivan. For a reason only he knows, I suppose. Robertson has looked good in his matches this week. You know, he finished last season well. Going into the World Championships, he was playing good snooker. During the World Championships, he was playing the first week or two, by far and away the best player on show. And he ran into John Higgins, the sublime match player. Took a break, understandably, after his most successful season, and I think he's come back looking okay. But this is his biggest test, and there's an argument it's also O'Sullivan's biggest test for a while. I'd like to call this match. No, that's a very good pot from O'Sullivan. Fortunately for him, the pink to the middle is clearly blocked by the red. Yes, it is genuinely a test for both players. I mean, I don't know where O'Sullivan's game is at right now. It's hard to gauge on the 2 matches so far. He's a bit lucky in the end to beat Kyren Wilson, who really should have won that match. He beat a wild card before, 6-0. So, a best of 19 against someone who's clearly, you know, a world-class player, who we did get the better of a couple of times last year. We'll find out if Ronnie O'Sullivan is back to that sort of form, won't we, this afternoon and this evening.
Yes, he seemed down and out, didn't he, in his match against Kyren Wilson. 4 down with 5 to play, and Wilson, as you say, had many opportunities to close that match out. He couldn't take them. O'Sullivan himself described it as a weird match. Of course, he was delighted to come through. But you suspect that he will have to raise his game to get the better of Robertson, who's had a pretty serene passage in contrast. Fairly comfortable wins over both Ding Junhui and Barry Hawkins to get this far.
Well, this red goes, but it's not easy. That was a better shot than it looks. We saw that from Hawkeye, you know, the player view of the shot. It looked very acute angle to the middle.